Christians are being slaughtered in Syria, and the mainstream media completely ignoring the story once again. For days now in Syria, there's been a systemic, unprecedented massacre of Christians. The killing of monks, the burning of monasteries, burning of entire Orthodox villages, which you can see fires from a distance. I mean, miles away, these Christian villages being burned. Alawite villages, Christian villages, all in Syria. Syrian government isn't doing anything to stop it because this is exactly what they want, of course. Instead of stopping it, they're inviting the new leader of Syria, who's an ISIS terrorist, to the United Nations to wine and dine him, celebrate his new leadership and his clean-kept beard and his hair gel. They don't want you to remember what he used to look like. There he is, whining and dining with Emmanuel Macron. Christians are taking to the streets in protest of these brutal killings across Syria, saying, "We are soldiers of Christ." Watch. They're trying to fight back, but of course, they're sitting targets at the moment without any help. Professor Joshua Landis is the author of Syria Comment, SyriaComment.com, and the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Oklahoma, and he joins us now. Professor Landis, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure being here.
You know, when I see this picture, it just strikes me right in the stomach. And you see this picture of Jolani, you know, at the United Nations, all clean kept, you know, beard, hair gel. People, we're trying to wipe clean his past as a terrorist. And what hope do these Christians have when you have a leader who's a literal terrorist and not doing anything to stop the slaughtering of Christians?
Well, it is an extraordinary, striking change that's going on in Syria. Here in 2003, when the United States invaded Iraq, Jolani left Damascus as a young 21-year-old and went to fight the United States in Iraq. And he was arrested by Americans for 5 years. Petraeus was the lead general there, and he joined Al-Qaeda, graduated up, became a right-hand man to Caliph Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, and was sent to Syria in 2011 to form a Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda. Called the Nusra. And he did that with spectacular results, and it became the most powerful militia in Syria. And we've got to remember the United States was supporting the Syrian opposition at this time, sending in billions of dollars in a number of CIA operations and Defense Department operations to support the opposition. And this head of Al-Qaeda was a beneficiary of that because it weakened the Assad regime, became strong, and in December of last year, just 9 months ago, he swept into Damascus with his forces, took over, became president. And America very quickly recognized him, lifted sanctions, and have embraced him and tried to get him to sign a peace agreement with Israel. So it is an extraordinarily sort of rapid change, and it means the minorities of Syria and the Christians are an important minority. But there are others, as you mentioned, the Alawites, 10, 12% of Syria live on the coast, the Druze, 3% live in the south, the Kurds up in the north. All of them are terrified today because these Sunni supremacists, this very fundamentalist branch of Sunni Islam, has taken power and is really treating the minorities with great disdain, and there have been massacres, both on the coast against the Alawites, 17,000 killed in March. In July, in the Druze area, almost 2,000 people were killed, and there's fighting going on today in the Kurdish region. So it's a very fraught situation. Many minorities are leaving Syria every day.
What do we know about the scale of the massacres? You talked about 17,000 Alawites. Yeah, we covered that here on the show a couple of months ago. I mean, that's unbelievable, the sheer number of that. And the Christians, how reliable?
No, almost every day, about 4, 5, 6 Alawites are being killed. Druze are being killed, and Christians too are being persecuted. You know, the Mar Elias bombing in June killed 30 parishioners in this church. 50 some odd others were wounded, badly wounded. The church was burnt down, destroyed by a suicide bomber. The regime said he was part of ISIS. But other groups said he had been a member of the new Defense Department and didn't think that al-Shara, the new president, was fundamentalist enough, and decided to bomb this church. So it's a very worrying situation, and unfortunately, Washington is coming out and embracing this guy, lifting sanctions, and not telling him that he's got to move towards democracy, that there has to be some kind of decentralization in order to protect these minorities, that he can't just run roughshod over them.
Why do you think the Syrian government is not intervening at all to help these Christians and Alawite communities?
Well, because first of all, there is tremendous sort of ideological disdain for them. Secondly, there's a sense of revenge, and there's a desire for revenge because the minorities, by and large, and this is not true across the board, but supported the Assad regime, which was Bashar al-Assad was an Alawite, and he worried that if the Islamists took over, the minorities would be persecuted, which in fact they are. And so minorities tended to support him, and it became very sectarian. The Sunnis, who joined the opposition, blame the minorities and believe that the minorities have been spoiled, first by the French colonial powers that ruled during the interwar period, and later came to power themselves and had their boot on the necks of these Sunni Muslims. So there's deep religious distrust that goes right across this. Now, the Christians always tried to run between the legs of the Alawites and the Sunnis, but by and large, they were not unhappy to see Assad stay in power because he was secular. He didn't discriminate against the Christians.
Christians were safe. I mean, say what you want about them, but the CIA operation, the fake gas attacks, the CIA operation to overthrow the Assad regime, he's been an inconvenient thorn in their side. Aligning with Russia, friends of Putin. This is a huge problem, of course, for the West. So,
and this has been, this is not just Syria, because this has happened in Iraq. This has happened in Lebanon. When you get civil war, when you get the state collapsing, and when America overthrew Saddam Hussein, now Saddam was a brutal dictator, but Christians were safe there, and they were about 3% of Iraq. Today, there's almost no Christians left in Iraq because civil war, people begin preying on each other, and you get the rise of this very right-wing fundamentalism. And that meant that Christians were discriminated against, and often they had an ISIS put, a big N for Nusayri, for a Christian, a symbol for Christian on the doors of Christians, and made them pay jizya, and often just killed them. So
why do you think the Western media, Professor, why do you think the Western media and governments are almost completely silent about this? I don't hear the Trump administration talking about it at all. I don't hear the Western media talking about it at all. Flip on Fox News, CNN, nothing. There's no coverage of it. You have to rely on little dog and pony shows like ours.
Well, you're right. And you would think that President Trump, who is backed by Christian groups, would be more outspoken about this, but he for some reason he's not. He has embraced, he's embraced Shara, who the Saudis and the Turks said, this is our guy. You need to lift sanctions and let Syria grow again. And he did that, and he's embraced.
And we all support that. I mean, death by sanctions. Like we call it here on the show. Is it like sanctions or weapons of mass?
Sanctions of most marginalized people.
Sanctions of
children.
Sanctions of mass destruction. So we support that, but killing Christians.
Right. And there hasn't been a hue and cry. And Christian groups have become, they've become, I don't know, they've abandoned the Christians in the Middle East. There's no doubt about it. And they don't have a very strong voice for this. And I think it's gotten, it's I don't know why exactly it has gotten lost in this struggle.
Oh, it's absolutely devastating. And as you point out, the slaughtering of Alawites, of Druze, of Christians continues right now as we are speaking.
And now our Kurdish allies who helped us fight ISIS, who helped us in Iraq, are on the verge of being abandoned by the United States, which is drawing down its troops and perhaps preparing to leave the region. in which case they're going to get their heads knocked in.
Oh my God. Professor, thank you for this. Thank you for this eye-opening discussion. I hope that more people are paying attention to this. And by the way, I mean, share this. Please clip this out and share this. Share this with people in the government. Share this with members of Congress. Just tag your representatives and say, why the hell are Christians being ignored in the Middle East and being slaughtered, and we're not doing anything to stop it? Professor, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure being here.